Hey, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year's, all those good things, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today we're going to be doing a top 10 list, and the top 10 list is, of course, since it's the end of the year, my top 10 games of 2022. And I am strictly going on BGG, according to them, which games came out in 2022. There were a lot of games that I got to play for the first time that were available for me that I got to play in 2022, but BGG has them listed as 2021. So those games are not included on this list. So we're strictly going on BGG timeline. Also, according to my BGG stats, I have played 45 games from this year, which isn't a lot, but it seems like every year it's harder and harder to play games from that particular year with games just not shipping as fast lately, it seems like, as in before. But by the end of next year, I'll probably have played 2 or 3 times more games from 2022, and I'll probably revisit that list at that time, and that it's probably going to be a more viable list by that time. But I'm just going on the games that I've played, and there's a lot of games that I haven't played that I want to. In fact, there's probably 15 games on my shelf that are from 2022 that I haven't gotten to play yet. I'll probably get to play them in the next month or two. Who knows? But today, actually, at the end of this video, I'm going to be giving away a game, and it's going to be one of the games that I'm listing today. And you just got to stay tuned to figure out which game that is and how you can apply to kind of win that contest. And what's interesting about this year's games is there wasn't just a standout winner for myself. In previous years, I start the list and I'm like, yeah, this game's obviously my number one. This year, I was making the list and I was flip-flopping choices all around. So, I mean, you could just say this is just my 10 favorite games, and you don't even have to do the 10 through 1, because these could go any way. You know, it might change tomorrow, it might change in a half an hour, because they're so good, or they're so close to each other. And there wasn't that game that was really, really high and not the other ones. I think this was a good year in board gaming. I really do. I think I had a lot of fun with a lot of games that came out this year. So with that being said, let's just start with number 10. And number 10 is actually a cheatsy doodle of sorts, because this is everything that came out for Marvel Champions in 2022. I liked so many of the things that Marvel Champions did this year. They came out with 2 big box expansions, Sinister Motives and Mutant Genesis. Those were my 2 favorite big box expansions that they've come out with for Marvel Champions so far. They've come out with 5 of the big box expansions. Those are my 2 favorites overall for the big box expansions. I think they did a really good job. They also came out with a little mini campaign expansion with, I think it's Mojo Mania or something like that. And they had a bunch of heroes, of course, and I liked a lot of the heroes as well. So I didn't want to put like a bunch of different Marvel Champions on a couple different numbers here, so I just decided to stick them all on number 10. It was a great year for Marvel Champions, in my opinion. So going to number 9. Number 9 is a cute game. This is Transmissions. In Transmissions, you have these robots on this board, and everybody basically controls all of the robots. And if you got the deluxe Kickstarter edition, these robots are like these cute miniatures, and they're just wonderful. And basically, you're moving around these robots, and it's like a rondel style system where they're just going around in a giant circle, and you're moving one of those robots onto a spot and then taking that spot's actions, which is basically getting resources and spending resources to build things. It's a good gateway game, and I just think that cuteness factor almost improves the game for myself because I'm a shallow gamer. So yeah, number 9, Transmissions. I think it was really good. Going to number 8. Number 8 is a bigger game. This is Return to Dark Tower. This is an app-based game that has this giant black tower in the middle of this game, this big game board. And you are going to be putting skulls in there, and this tower is going to be rotating around and spitting these skulls out. And it's kind of got this pandemic system where if you got more than 3 skulls in a region, bad things sort of happen. But you're going to be going through this sort of dungeon in each of these areas through the app, spending resources. It's a really cool game, and that dark tower, that is such a cool thing, and it works really well, and the app works really well. So it's just a fun experience overall. I do not own this game, and I don't know if I ever will, just because it is a pricier game, and it is a big box game as well. But it's a ton of fun. So number 8, Return to Dark Tower. Number 7, going to a much, much smaller game. This is Caper Europe, which is a redo of Caper. And it's just a 2-player tug of war style drafting game where you're drafting these cards and you're trying to tug this little piece on your board towards you, and you're trying to win these locations by playing these characters and items on these spots in order to do that. And there's a lot of fun decisions, and it's a very light game, very easy to get into, but it's got that depth to it. It's a fun 2-player only game. So number 7, Caper Europe. Going to number 6 as another 2-player only game. This was a bit of a surprise for me. This is Splendor Duel. Splendor Duel is a pretty cool 2-player only version of Splendor, a very popular sort of gateway style game. I myself, I like Splendor. I don't love it, but a lot of my friends do like Splendor a lot, so I've played Splendor a lot over the years. In this game, you have a grid of the gems instead in this one, and you're kind of just taking gems in lines in this one. And it just, that small new mechanism, new twist to the game adds so much more strategic value to it, and it's much more cutthroat, I think, than the regular Splendor. And I do like this one quite a bit more than regular Splendor. And if you didn't like Splendor, maybe check this one out. This one might be a little bit more your style. Number 6, Splendor Duel. Going to number 5, halfway through the list, this is Caesar's Empire. This is a big box game, but it's a very light game, and it's a filler time frame, maybe 30 minutes to play this, maybe, if you're pushing it. In this game, you're basically just taking one of your road pieces, which is this big colorful piece, and putting it on one of the roads on this map. And you're basically building routes, but you're building routes with other players. When you place a piece, you can extend on other people's roads, and everybody gets a point that has a road extending back to Rome. If you have multiple roads on there, you get multiple points depending on how many roads you have. You're also going to be taking these resources along with it, and it's sort of a resource gathering point system for that. And this is it's a really simple game that I really like. This is going to be like one of my go-to gateway games for a couple years probably. I think it's really fun to play, really easy to break out. It's kind of a replacer for Ticket to Ride to me, and a lot of people are going to say, well, it's not like Ticket to Ride. No, but it gives me sort of that feel of that route building sort of system in it, but at half the time and even lighter of a rule set than Ticket to Ride. So number 5, Caesar's Empire. Going to number 4, which is a much, much more heavy, more complex game. This is Wayfarers of the South Tigris, which is the first game in the new trilogy by Shem Phillips. There was the North Sea games in the West Kingdom. Now there's the South Tigris, and this is the first game in it. And it is a worker placement / dice worker placement game. And there's just a lot of things going on in this one. You're going to be building out this tableau of area, making land and sea cards, and then also sky cards with space on it. And there's just a lot of different ways you can score points in this. I think, to me, this is the heaviest game in this line of games by Shem Phillips and Sam McDonnell. It's a really good system. It's very, very heavy. I think it is heavier than Paladins, in my opinion, but it's a fun game. I've played this one a lot in the last 2 months or so. It's a great game. So number 4, Wayfarers of the South Tigris. Going to number 3. Number 3 was a surprise for me. This is First Rat. When I seen First Rat, I didn't really think much about it, and then I ended up playing it, and I'm like, wow, this is got a lot of depth to it. In this game, you are playing as rats, and you're trying to build your spaceships, basically, in order to go to the moon. But you're going to be moving multiple rats along this track and taking those actions of those rats and basically getting those resources and using them to build your spaceship. Or there's a couple different strategies you're going to be doing in this. You can also go around this rondel sort of system that's on the bottom. I think they're the light bulbs or something like that. And you can get superpowers for your rats, and you can get more rats on the board. There's just a lot to do in this game, and there's a lot of different ways that you can score. So it was a big surprise for me because it looks something different than what it actually is. So yeah, number 3 is First Rat. Going to number 2. Number 2 is Star Wars the Clone Wars, which is a Pandemic game. It's the newest game in the Pandemic series of games. And this is more closely related to last year's release of the World of Warcraft Pandemic game that came out. They use that system of using cards in order to do extra actions and stuff like that. This is close enough to Pandemic, but far enough away from it that I think if you have Pandemic, you should probably get this one too. I really like the theme of it. In this one, there's drones that are coming out rather than the viruses, and you also have 4 different villains you can play against, and that who you're facing in this game, the villain, is going to drastically change how the game works, because they're going to have their own deck that you're going to be going through and doing whatever that villain's deck tells you to. But it's quite a bit different than regular Pandemic, like I said. But you're going to notice the system in it, and it's such a good system. And I just had a ton of fun playing through this game so far, and I plan to play it a lot more. So number 2, Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Going to my number 1 game of this year, and the game that I'm going to be giving away this year. This is an expansion, a standalone expansion actually, for a game system that I really like. This is Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 2. I really like Unmatched itself, and this is one of the best sets I think that Unmatched has come out with so far. It is a 4-character set. It's got Sun Wukong, Achilles, Bloody Mary, and Yennegaa, and I really like all 4 of those characters. All 4 of those characters are probably in my top 15 favorite characters of all time. I think it's as good of a set that has ever come out for Unmatched, and like I said, I'm going to be giving this copy away to someone in the comments below. If you want to win this, and I'm only going to be selling or giving it to a US based person, and I'm sorry for everybody else. It's way too expensive to ship elsewhere at the moment, so I do apologize for that. So comment down below what your favorite game is of this year that has come out that you've gotten to play. And yeah, but Unmatched is just a great game. Also, I did do a ranking of my favorite Unmatched sets, and spoiler alert, this is one of the higher ones on that. So if you want to go check out that video, you surely can. But it's a great set, in my opinion, as good of a set that has ever come out for Unmatched, and that's why it's my number 1 game of this year. So Unmatched Battle of Legends Volume 2 is my favorite game of 2022. And like I said, make sure to comment down below to try and win this, and make sure you like and subscribe in order to be available, or for you to be able to win this game. So I hope you all have an amazing day, and I hope you have a great start to your next year. Take care, everyone.